Hi, everyone. This is Coach Graber, and I'm here to talk about emotions and your brain and how understanding your brain can help you understand yourself. So take a moment to reflect. Have you ever felt like you're controlled by your emotions instead of in control of them? Have you felt like you couldn't shake off your anxiety no matter how much you tried? Or you're blinded by anger and did things you regretted later? Brain science can help us understand these emotions and help us manage them better. We're going to talk about two parts of the brain that are important in thinking about emotions and the management of our emotions. First is the amygdala. This is where our strongest emotions are generated. And the prefrontal cortex is where our logical thinking happens. That's the other part. So first, the amygdala. The amygdala works as your brain's security guard. It's located back in the back of your brain, close to your brainstem, around right here. And you can see it's much closer to your spine and the rest of your body. It's the job of your amygdala to send your brain into a fight, flight, or freeze mode if it senses danger. In this job, it will generate deep emotions such as anger, fear, anxiety, all for the purpose of keeping you safe. As a security guard, the amygdala reacts very quickly, and it acts before the logical part of your brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, can react. The prefrontal cortex is up here in the front of your forehead. This is the conductor of your brain, and it's in charge of decision making, planning, logical thinking, and goal setting, as well as self regulation. With all of these roles, it is the prefrontal cortex that helps you make decisions for yourself and your future that make sense and are aligned with your future goals. Because the job of the amygdala is to keep you safe, the amygdala is designed to respond very quickly to situations that your brain views as a threat. It responds much more quickly than the prefrontal cortex engages. So our brains go into a fight, flight, or freeze mode and generate fear, anger, anxiety, or frustration before we're thinking logically about the situation. Our brains are wired to respond to these emotions before thinking them through. Now, there's a reason for this. This is to keep you safe and keep us alive. If the logical part of your brain worked first before the amygdala, then you might be dead by the time you could actually respond to the situation. Once the brain has gone into a fight, flight, or freeze mode, its main concern is to keep us safe, keep us alive. That's its job. At this point, the prefrontal cortex actually remains disengaged. It remains turned off, so to speak, while the danger is dealt with. Your body is only concerned with keeping you alive. This is why when you have very strong feelings, it can be really hard to think logically and to control your actions. Because remember, the prefrontal cortex is in charge of regulating yourself, controlling yourself, aligning yourself with your goals, and it's turned off while you're dealing with the danger. So you're in that fight, flight, or freeze mode. You're actually not able to think logically about the situation you're in. So the goal in this case is to be able to manage our emotion, is to get the prefrontal cortex involved in the situation. So when you find yourself reacting to a situation, when you find yourself going into that fight, flight, or freeze mode, it can be helpful to pause to give your prefrontal cortex time to engage. So the brain science suggests take a deep breath when you find yourself about to react. And it can help the prefrontal cortex engage and give your brain more oxygen to allow it to work. So this can help you to actually respond more thoughtfully and more logically to the situation than if you just reacted to it immediately. So again, if you feel yourself about to enter that fight, flight, or freeze mode, or if you're already entering it, take a second to pause, take a deep breath to give your prefrontal cortex time to engage so you can start thinking logically about the situation. So take a moment to think about this. Reflect about the past. Think about a time when you're controlled by your emotions and you weren't thinking logically. So what was it that caused you to enter that fight, flight, or freeze mode? What caused your amygdala to react? Now, thinking about it now, if you had responded logically instead with your prefrontal cortex, what would be different? How would it be different? So think about the difference between your amygdala reaction and your prefrontal cortex reaction. And then as you're working through this, start practicing taking that breath and thinking through things logically instead of just responding with the amygdala and going into fight, flight, or freeze mode. And this will help you learn how to control yourself and your amygdala and your reactions. That's all I have for today. Have a great day and talk to you soon.